the classwork part.
Hi, everybody. It's Mrs. Richardson, and here we are, and we're going to do a problem together. But before we start the problem, I wanted to go back to the directions. So the directions for our problems for problem set lesson 18 are: draw a tape diagram to represent each problem, use numbers to solve, and write your answer as a statement. So now we did number 1 and number 2 at school. And now for homework, I wanted you to do number 3. So I am now going to walk through this so that you can see how I did it. You can check your work. And also parents, you can see what we're doing and get an idea so you can help your child. So this is what it says. In the first week of June, a restaurant sold 10,345 omelets. In the second week, 1,096 fewer omelets were sold than in the first week. In the third week, 2,000 more omelets were sold than in the first week. In the fourth week, 2,000 fewer omelets were sold than in the first week. How many omelets were sold in all in June? So the first thing I want to do is I want to figure out what our goal is for this question. And I'm going to look, and I see that the last question statement in the problem is how many omelets were sold in all in June. So when I see that phrase in all, I know that we are going to eventually add. But before we get there, we don't know all this information, and that's the tricky part, but we can do this. So I'm going to go and kind of figure a few things out. So I noticed in the first week of June, okay, I think what I'll do is just put a little dot. So the first week of June, the restaurant sold this many, okay? All right, so I'm just going to change colors so we will kind of be able to see. In the second week of June, it was 1,096 fewer. So fewer is going to be a very important word. Fewer omelets were sold than in the first week. So we're comparing the second week to the first week, and we know they sold 1,096 fewer omelets. So we're going to be thinking about that in a little bit. In the third week, let's change colors. In the third week, 2,000 more omelets, more omelets, were sold than in the first week. So again, we're going back to this first week. So this first week is a very important number. All of our answers are going to be based on this. In the fourth week, 2,000 fewer omelets were sold than in the first week. So the first thing that we need to figure out is how many numbers are we going to be adding up? And as you can see, we have the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth weeks of June. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to draw tape diagrams. So for parents that don't know what a tape diagram is, it's basically a box, like a piece of tape, if you can imagine that. A piece of tape that looks like this. And then when they're next to each other, we know we're going to combine them to have like one long piece of tape. So I'm going to make the first week of June red to match the color. I'm going to make the second week of June green to match our number there. And I mean, these may not be perfectly to scale. The idea is to kind of see that, but sometimes we can't figure that out. And then the third week I'll make kind of yellowish because it's a yellow. And I do this kind of color thing. I draw pictures, do color, and it just helps me think. So some people may do other things. I like color, and that's just my thing. And then finally, the fourth week, we'll use purple. So there's only one week that we really know the information for, right? All we know is the first week. That's all we really know. So that's our only information that we really know. So that is the only number that I can really fill in. But we do know that when we add these 4 weeks together, we will have the answer to the problem, which is right here, how many omelets were sold in all. So this one, plus this one, plus this one, plus this one is all going to equal what we want to know, which is, dun, 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 it is, there's several ways we can do this. This is a bracket. Another thing that we can do that kind of shows the whole is to make a large tape diagram like this. Okay, so we know when we add all those together, we're going to equal the total number that is the total number of omelets that were sold in June. So, oops. So what I'm going to do is I'm just doing that to help me remember what our goal is. That's our goal, is to figure out how many omelets were sold in June. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a variable, which is the unknown, which is going to be O. Okay? So O is going to stand for all the omelets that were sold in June. And here is going to be my first week, which guess what? We know that information. So we're going to put that in that box. So we know they sold 10,345 omelets in the first week. But we don't know the second, third, or fourth weeks, do we? So we have to figure that out. So let's look at this. We know the question said in the second week, 1,096 fewer omelets were sold than in the first week. So if we know that there were 10,345 sold in the first week, but in the second week there were 1,096 fewer, we're going to subtract to find the difference, right? Because the question told us that it was 1,096 fewer than the first week. So now we're going to get all set up here. I do want to line them up, and it's not easy sometimes. So that's pretty good right there. So let's subtract, because we are trying to find the difference, because in the second week they did less omelets, 1,096 less, exactly. Okay, so 5 minus 6, 5 ones minus 6 ones, we can't do that. So we're going to take a 10 from the tens column, and we are going to take a 10 and put it over here. So instead of 5 ones, we're going to have 15 ones, right? Because we have our 10 plus our 5, so we'll have 15 ones. And then instead of having 4 10s, we will now have 3 10s. Okay? Right. Now let's look even over here. If you take 3 minus 9, that's not going to work. So why don't we take 100 and give it over here as 10 10s. So now instead of 3 10s, we will have 13 10s, because we took 100 and we just put it over here in the form of 10s. And now instead of having 300s, we have 200s. Okay, so we're looking good here, we're looking good here, we're looking good here. Let's look right here. This is not going to work, is it? So, I mean, we could just say 10,000s minus 1,000 is 9,000s. That's one way we could think about it, right? If you want to do it the traditional way, using the traditional algorithm, you could say, okay, there are not enough thousands in this place, so we're going to take a 10,000 and put it over here, and we'll have 10,000s. Pretty simple, which does equal 9. It's the same thing. So now let's solve. 15 minus 6 is 9. So put your 9 down below right here. 13 minus 9 is 4. 2 minus 0 is 2. And then 10 minus 1 is 9. So now we know that in the second week, they sold 9,249 omelets. 9,249 omelets. Now, another thing that you can always do, boys and girls, is check your work. So we could do that real fast. It's always a good idea. So I'm just going to quickly add these up. 10 plus 6, I mean 9, 10 plus, 9 plus 6, oopsie, is 15. Double checking. Carry the 1. That would be 4 plus 1 is 5. That'd be 14. Carry the 1. Carry the 100. 2, 3, 4. Wait, oops, did I mess up here? Let's see here. Oh, 2 plus 0 is 2 plus 1 more is 3. And then the 9 plus the 10. 9 plus the 1 is 10, excuse me. And so yes, it does check. That's just another thing that you can do, and it's a very smart idea. All right, so now we know that. So now let's go to the next one. We can look at the third week and see that the question says, in the third week, 2,000 more omelets were sold than in the first week. Ooh, more than. So now the business is picking up, right? They're selling more omelets. In fact, 2,000 more. So what are we going to do to figure out how many omelets were sold in this third week? Because they sold 2,000 more omelets than the first week. So if you were thinking what I was thinking, which is we're going to add 2,000 to this number, you are correct. So let's do that. Okay, I'm going to erase this guy just so we can have room. Okay, now we're going to set up our next problem. So we know that in the first week, 10,345 omelets were sold, and then in the third week, 2,000 more than that. So we're going to add, because we heard that keyword, more than. Okay, it's pretty lined up. It's not perfect. A little bit tricky, but I really want to line those up. When you're adding and subtracting, you really, it's very important that you line up your numbers, boys and girls. So now we're going to add, right? Because it's more than. So let us get ready to add. We can do this. I think I'm going to make it yellowish because of the third week. So 5 plus 0 is 5. 4 plus 0 is 4. 3 plus 0 is 3. And then 0 plus 2 is 2. And now we have, bring down our 1. So it looks like they sold 12,345 in the third week. So we can write that there. Okay. Remember, our ultimate goal is to add them all up together. So let's see here. 12,345 omelets were sold in the third week. Okay, so now let's look at our final one. In the fourth week, if we look up here, 2,000 fewer omelets were sold than in the first week. Ooh, so how many? So really, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to just go down here, and if it says we're 2,000 fewer omelets were sold than in the first week, I'm going to get the first week and take away 2,000, right? That's convenient, right? Okay, so let's take these away. So I'll make it purple to match our tape diagram. So when we're doing this one, we're just simply going to subtract. 5 minus 0 is 5. 4 minus 0 is 4. 3 minus 0 is 3. And then we cannot take 2 from 0. Another way to look at that is just to look at this whole thing right here. 10,000s minus 2,000s is 8,000s. You could do that. Or you can do it the traditional way. And that is saying, okay, we don't have enough thousands, so let's take this 10,000 and put it over here. That's all we're doing, right? Which equals 8. I'm going to double check my work. It's always a wise idea. We're all human beings and we can make simple mistakes. And in math, that's kind of one of the tricky things is you can do something right, but if you make a mistake, oh boy, the whole thing's wrong. So we're going to add this up right here. 5 plus 0 is 5. And 4 plus 0 is 4. 3 plus 0 is 3. So far, so good, right? And then 8 plus 2 is 10. So yes, yay, it checks out. What you're doing is you're matching this guy to this guy. And it does check out. So here's our answer of how many omelets were sold that 4th week. Okay, they sold 8,345. 8,345 were sold in the 4th week. All right, now the final part of the equation, the problem is we are going to figure out what O is. How many omelets in all? And so what we're going to do is we're going to add all of these 4 numbers up. Okay, and what that's going to do is it is going to tell us how many omelets were sold in the month of June. So we're going to erase all this. A lot of kids, when they see the problem like this, they see in all, and they start adding up these numbers. But you have to look very carefully because, as you can see, it doesn't say that number. It says fewer than or more than. So that's the tricky part. All right, so let's set this up. There are different ways we can do this. I am going to choose to add 2 numbers together and then add a 3rd number and then the 4th number. But you can do it any way that is good for you. Some kids can add 4 numbers up together, but I prefer this. This is my personal preference. So I'm going to add 10,345 to the 2nd week, which is 9,249. That's my first step. Once I get this sum, then I'm going to add that to the 3rd week. Okay, so we're trying to figure out the total. So this is the 1st and 2nd weeks. So let's simply add this up. 5 plus 9 is 14. So we got our 4 ones. We're going to put our 10 here, our extra 10. So 4 tens plus 4 tens is 8 tens plus 1 more is 9. Oops, that was an accident. 9 tens, 4 ones, 9 tens. Now let's look over here. 300s plus 200s is 500s. Okay, and then 9,000s plus 0,000s is 9,000s. And then we're just simply going to bring this guy down, bring him down. Okay, so that's the first 2 weeks. Now let's add the 3rd week to that. So I think what I'm going to do, just to make it tidy, is just start a whole nother problem right here. So I'm going to put 19,594 plus the 3rd week, which is 12,345. I'm going to add those together now. All right. So we're going to add those up, and that'll be the 1st and 2nd plus the 3rd. We're getting there, aren't we, guys? All righty. So simply 4 plus 5 is 9. 9 ones. 9 plus 4 is 13 tens. So we're going to put our 3 tens there and put our 100 over here. So now we have 8 plus 1. So we have 9 hundreds here in the hundreds column. We have 9, 10, 11. We have 11 thousands. So we're going to put our 1,000 here, and the 10 we can regroup to over here. So now we have our 10,000. So now we have 3 10,000s, right? So that'd be 31,939. So finally, the last part of the problem is I'm going to take my sum from here. So it's 939, and I'm going to add the final week, which is 8,000. Oops, let me move him over just a little bit. 8,345. We're going to add that, and we're going to find our grand total. Yay! And that's going to be how we solve this problem. I know there are a lot of steps, but this is making us think a little bit, and that's good. That's always good. Okay, So 9 plus 5 is 14. So we have 14 ones. So we can put our 4 ones over here, but we have to regroup our 110. So we have 4 plus 3 tens plus 1 more is 8 tens. Then we have 9 plus 3 hundreds, which is 14 hundreds. No, 12 hundreds, right? Sorry. Hope you caught me on that. 12 hundreds. So we can put our extra 200s here, but we have to put our 10 hundreds, which is 1,000, right here, because we can't keep them in this column, can we? We have 8 thousands plus 1,000 is 9 thousands, plus 1 more is 10 thousands. So if we have a 10 thousands, we can put our 0 here, and we've got to put our 10 thousands in our 10 thousands column. 30,000 plus 1 plus 10,000 is 40,000. So we have 4 10,000s, and that should be the final answer. So O equals 9,000. I mean, no, listen to me. 40,000, 284 omelets sold. Okay. So now we're going to say this in a statement. So very simply, I'm just going to go down here and just say the restaurant sold 40,284 omelets in the month of June. Because it just said we had to tell the answer in a statement. So that's it. That is number 3 on page 130. I'm proud of you. Thank you for working hard. Have an awesome, awesome, wonderful, amazing day.